Hey guys, Justin here with JHart Modelworks. We have finished the Academy Corsair and we did end up with something that resembles an airplane. So let's go ahead and get the camera flipped around and take a look at what we ended up with. Alright guys, there she is, my very first finished airplane build. So we went with Mr. Surfacer 1500 black primer, pretty much my go-to for everything. Followed that up with some Zero Paints extra fine silver candy base. We then did our flames with a mixture of Alclad and Mr. Hobby Super Metallics. Topped that off with some Splash Paints Candy Blue. We did the gold using Mr. Hobby's Super Metallic Super Rich Gold, and the underbelly is in Tamiya's Light Gunmetal. We used some splash paints again for the landing gear base, which are Splash Paints Insignia White, and we used that white again for the tail numbers on the back end of the plane. So all in all, I am really happy with how this turned out. Our propeller does move, and we don't want to break that there. Took it off the spinny platform so we can take a look at the details here. Now the canopy, we did use a mask for the canopy, and the masks were great. I mentioned in my last video who they were from. I don't remember offhand. The glass itself, though, is a bit sketchy. The fit is a little interesting. Now, it is slightly warped. I took some heat to it and tried to bend it out as best as I could without damaging the glass. But you can see it kind of curves in a little more here and curves out a little more on this side. Now, all in all, it looks pretty good. Looks decent enough from a distance. For the most part, I'm going to be displaying it off anyhow. Like an open canopy style with it sitting back here, so that you can see the detail in the canopy. Now for the interior green, I went with AK Real Colors. I've not used that brand before because I don't really do military stuff, but it worked really well in the airbrush. The black is just Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. I bought the Quinta Studio set, but it's made for another company's airplane. It's not for Academy. I want to say it's for Hobby Boss, and it just didn't fit. So I sent that off to Joe at Mad Genius, hoping maybe he can have a use for it. We just went with the kit decal, which is pretty decent. So the kit decal is pretty good. The rest of the buttons and switches we just detail painted with some water-based acrylics and a mechanical pencil. The seat belts itself, I used it's another company's 3D printed decal type set. I forget whose they were from, but they did turn out really well. It's one of those things where you basically just use water to get them off of the backing paper and then apply some white glue like Elmer's to attach to your seat. So I'm happy with how the seatbelts came out. I'm honestly pretty happy with that interior. For being my first interior, I think I did pretty good. Our engine, our propeller does spin. This I'm a little less enthused about. It's really wobbly. It's just a weird little pin that goes on the inside portion of the engine and sticks out the front, and then you're supposed to glue the propeller to it, but it's not fully fitted. So when you're trying to push the propeller on it, the pin is sliding back at the same time, and you can't really put it together first because the engine cowling has to go around the engine. So it is what it is. I'm not going to be sitting here spinning it anyhow. It's just going to be sitting on a shelf. We have our engine. Then we have our underside here. The same company who did the masks for the glass also did the masks for the wheels, and those masks are really good. I mentioned the company in my last video. I can't remember who they are off the top of my head, and I think I've already thrown the box away with all the stuff in it. So there are also our landing gear bays. I forgot to throw a wash in the landing gear bays. Maybe I'll go back and do that just to kind of give it a little bit more detail in there. And then, we just sprayed the underside in the green. It's not green. We sprayed the underside in gunmetal. Alright guys, as far as our tail number goes, all US plane tail numbers start with the letter N, so we started ours with the letter N. For my cars, I do a registration sticker, and I put the month and the year that I finished the build on. Well, we're not going to put a registration sticker on here, so I went with 0625S. Now the 06 is, of course, is for June. The 25 is for 2025, and S is my daughter's nickname, Skiggles. So that's how we came up with that. Now it is a little fuzzy. I wanted to use a Cricut cutter to make the template and just apply a vinyl template to it. But the person I borrowed the Cricut cutter from last time to do the stripes on the Ferrari 360 no longer owns a Cricut cutter. I would like to have one, but honestly those things are expensive and I'm not going to use them very often, so it kind of seems like a waste of money to me to spend that much money on a tool that I'm not going to use. So what I did instead was I 3D modeled up and printed a small little rectangle with the letters cut out of it, and I only did it about 0.5 millimeter thick, but it doesn't really quite conform as well as something like a vinyl mask or a tape mask would. And that's the reason why the paint is a little fuzzy, because there's a little bit of a gap between where the resin mask was and the surface of the plane itself. All in all, it's not terrible. I mean, it would be nice if it was cleaner, but it does get a number on the plane and serves the purpose. We have the flame pattern that I did in there. Again, I just did this up as a racer. So basically, the concept is that some guy, got a hold of the money for a plane and decided to turn it into a race plane. He got one of these old Corsairs. Now, the real story behind this paint job goes back to Joe at Mad Genius Productions. So, Joe used to be a car builder, and Joe decided he didn't want to be a car builder. He wanted to build military stuff, so he went off to build military airplanes. But I still like Joe. We're not going to hold that against him. I still watch his videos, and he does great unboxings. And I'll watch unboxings of his planes, and I'll give him a suggestion for a color scheme. Like, hey, Joe, you should do that in candy blue with gunmetal undersides. Or that plane would look great in candy apple red. And he never builds my planes to my color schemes like I suggest. He never does. He just says, yeah, whatever, Justin, you should do that. So I did it. That's where we got the candy blue with gold and gunmetal from. So I know it's not going to tickle the fancy of all the military builders, but this is what happens when you let car guys build airplanes. So that's going to be a wrap, guys. Next week, there should be an unboxing video for our next project on the bench. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be doing kind of a palette cleanser for myself. It's just going to be a light, fun, quick little curbside. It's going to be the Ferrari F355 GTS from Fujimi. Not an enthusiast kit at all. It's just one of their curbside kits. Just a quick throw together before we move on to something else. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I always appreciate you watching the videos, and I will catch you on the next one.